So what's this top part called?
Cap.
Cap. What about right here? What do we got underneath? Good. We got gills that produce spores. Good. And I don't think I have little spores coming out, but the spores would be little dots coming out here. What else? What's this? Or stem or stipe. It has 3 different names. What about this stuff right here? Inside, this interwoven tiny threads of cytoplasm are called, good. And then in the bottom, they form like this mat.
Mycelium.
Good job. Mycelium. Good job. And just like what it looks like those structures of cytoplasm that are branching out. They're doing that in order to be able to extend out and reach nutrients and water for the absorption process. Because all fungi feed through absorbing nutrients. And remember, this is a picture of a mushroom, which is a type of fungi, but all fungi have hyphase, have myceliums, okay? So remember that. So fungi reproduce how? Look at these pictures. Through what?
Spores.
They do. I think that's what it says there. Yeah. But what type of reproduction?
Asexual.
Good. And sexual, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. So they reproduce both ways. Asexually means basically one organism can produce 2. Sexually means they're going to have 2 organisms or 2, I wouldn't say organisms. So sperm and egg will come together, and not really sperm and egg. The spores from one and the spores from another, right, will come together and form offspring. So I want you to know that like bacteria, like all organisms, they can have good things and they can have bad things. These are some of the really important functions of fungi, okay? Who could tell me, what do you think they are? Well, what is this? Somebody said it.
Like nasty stuff.
Well, fungi is yeast, mold, and mushrooms, right? We covered that. What can they do that's good? This is the question I'm asking.
Go back to mold, right?
They what?
Mold.
Would mold be something good? No. They can decompose. Good. That's important. Why is it important for organisms to decompose things? That's a good point. We don't want to have anything dead all over the place, right? But more importantly, what happens when decomposers break down dead things?
Nutrients.
Good. They break down waste and recycle the matter back into the ground or into the atmosphere or somewhere back into the cycle of important nutrients returning. Good. It's not that we would lose them, right? We would lose all this carbon, nitrogen. What else do you think fungi does that's good? What is this here? This.
Penicillin.
Good. Pills. They make medicine. Yes, they make exactly this medicine called penicillin, which is an antibiotic used for a lot of things, actually. It's one of the first choices of most illnesses. What else can fungi do? What is this?
Cheese.
Make food. They make bread and cheese, and they make alcohol. Remember when we learned that during respiration, organisms, when they don't take in oxygen, they make alcohol? Do you remember what that process is called? Good job. Fermentation. So impressed if you need. So fungi is also bad.
Yeah.
It's not that it's, well, yeah. There's things about fungi that can cause bad things to happen. So what do you think is one of them? Destroy crops. Good. What else?
Mold.
Mold.
Yeah.
Mold, which will rot food, right? Because mold, you keep saying that mold is a bad thing that fungi does. I mean that the kingdom fungi does. Mold is an organism in the kingdom fungi. We think of it as mold, but mold is the organism. The problem with mold is that it can grow on your food, it could grow in your bathroom, it could cause respiratory issues. So another issue is disease. You can have skin disease, respiratory diseases. So a lot of illnesses can arise from either breathing in or touching types of fungi. All right, so we finished protists, we finished fungi, and now we're moving on to the next kingdom, which is plants. Who could tell me anything about the general characteristics?
Photosynthesis.
They can produce photosynthesis, which means they're what? What kind of feeders?
Asexual.
Autotrophs. Good. What else can you tell me about general characteristics? Eukaryotic. Everything we cover in this unit is eukaryotic. Good. They are multicellular, and I'm going to give you like a unique feature that we haven't covered. They're cell walls, because we know plants have cell walls, which is unique, and they're made up of cellulose, which is like a protective coat. What else do we know about plants? They can't what? Move. Good. They're non-motile. And then they reproduce, I don't know why I covered this word, sexually and asexually. So they can reproduce sexually and asexually. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of plants so we can learn about the first types of plants and then what has changed and why. So plants have a big challenge because they originated where? Like almost all organisms, in the water. And then they had to figure out a way to survive where? On land, okay? And there's going to be 3 unique characteristics that plants developed as an evolutionary trait or evolutionary traits to be able to leave water and survive on land, okay? And these are them. So the first thing, if plants are going to leave water, what do you think they first had to figure out how to do?
How to adapt.
Okay, I'll take it. They had to figure out how to be able to absorb nutrients. What structure do you think helped them do that? Roots. They developed roots, okay? Believe it or not, you're not that far off because they really didn't have true leaves, but photosynthesis was already happening.
But how does it go from water to land?
It just does.
It just happened. So maybe the earth dried up and these plants were on land, and over time, some that had specific traits were able to develop into these structures, right? Roots, which not only would help them absorb food, but it also is going to anchor them because in the water, you're constantly moving. On land, you need that anchor. What else do you think they got? What do you think will hold up the leaves?
Stem.
Good. They needed to hold up the leaves because now if your leaves are drooping, you're not going to be able to capture sunlight to do photosynthesis. So they had to figure out a way, you weren't far off, to be able to continue to photosynthesize on land. What else? What do you, okay, we're in the water. We're plant waters, right? We're water plants. And we go to land. What do you think they're going to need? What do plants always need?
Sunlight.
What else?
Food.
Water, okay? We're not in the water anymore. So what did they have to do when they got to land? Figure out how.
Get in an area where it rains.
What if it didn't? No. If you're evolving, you're not dying.
Wait, what's the question?
So what did plants need to develop in order to survive on land? Prevent what? They needed to figure out a way to prevent water loss, okay? So this waxy coating on leaves, things of these structures will help them retain water and avoid water evaporating from the leaves, which is called transpiration. And then they also needed to develop a way to transport their eggs and sperm because water plants can transport their eggs and sperm easily through the water and land plants could not. So they had to figure out how.